Good morning, Mars swimmers and parents. I find now that we're kind of stuck in our houses a bit to be an excellent opportunity to explain the meet structure and season structures for anyone that has any questions. So, for swim meets, many of you probably have been under this situation where your kid gets done with a race, they did really well, and they run up and they say, "Hey mom, hey dad, I got a BB time." And you may be thinking, I didn't realize my kid was getting grades in swimming. And what even is a double B time? Well, every few years, USA Swimming comes out with motivational time standards. This is based on the statistics of how each generation of swimmer is going in speed. So, in those motivation times, they'll give a set time associated with a B, a double B, an A. An example being on the 50 freestyle. You could have 31 seconds be a B time, 30 seconds be a double B time, 29 be an A, 28 double A, 27 triple A. It's rarely ever that simple, but that is a potential case, as each time standard is higher than the one preceding it. Now, we take those motivational time standards that USA Swimming creates, and we create what is called age groups. North Texas Swimming, they'll combine 13 and 14-year-olds. You'll have 15 and over. You'll have 11 and 12. You'll have 10 and under. And so those are our age groups. They may actually take the motivational time standards and only focus on the older part of that age group and create that as the standard for certain meets. That's where you get the difference between double B, BC meets, and A meets and above. It's as the swimmers meet those time standards, they will participate in one level meet or another, sometimes both. In the case of both, it depends on what strokes and what races they have one time standard, and what strokes and what races they have other time standards to depend what races they swim in different meets. Now, within all of this going on, you have your tags level, sectional level, zones level meets. Those are specific meets that are created where they have their own additional time standard separate from the motivational time standard. For example, with the tags meet that we hosted at the beginning of March, a lot of their time standards is approximately a double A or a triple A, and it's its own tags time standard. Tags standing for Texas Age Group State. So it's the biggest and fastest meet for age group swimmers, particularly age 14 and below. Sectionals is an older kid meet where they don't worry so much about age, but they still have their baseline time standards that they require for all swimmers to meet to be able to participate in the meet. And zones is a little bit different where they actually is one of the few meets that base a little bit on the rankings of individual races and creating a team. But that meet's a little bit different. So, essentially, you have the motivational time standards that make up the bulk of all the rules on going to different meets. And then you have specific other meets that have their own time standards and their own rules that kind of act semi in conjunction, semi differently. Now, the next topic is swim seasons. There is actually a such thing as a short course season and a long course season. Short course is the 25-yard pools that you are accustomed that your kids are swimming in and they swam in all winter long. That is the indoor UTA pool, the Hugh Smith Recreational Facility, Grapevine. All of those indoor pools are 25 yards in length. This is because in the U.S. we use the standard system, in which case we like to use a short course yards pool. The rest of the world, they have a short course meters in a 25-meter pool. Long course is your outdoor UTA pool, the Louisville pool when you take out the bulkheads. It's the extra long Olympic-sized pool. And so those are 50 meters in length. Now, with the pool being longer and concern for safety, there is an additional standard that's put upon those meets. To qualify to swim in a long course meet, typically you have to have a double B or higher time standard. Meaning that the newest of swimmers will not be participating in long course. And the faster swimmers, during the summertime, because they don't do it in the winter, only in the summertime do they transition to long course in the 50-meter pool. Now, underneath that, I wrote typical swim season. That one is kind of a misleading title. So there's a bit of a standard that goes on in every swim season. Now, at the older age groups, it's pretty much exactly like this, and at the younger age groups, it's modified. But typically for a swim season, swimmers will start out at the very beginning working on just getting back into shape, working on technique because you just had a 2 week break, which happens in March and August. It's happened every year for since I was on the swim team back 2002 to 2015, and before that even. So at the beginning of the swim season, it's mainly technique based and getting back into shape. Being that you just had a long break, it's easiest to break the habits and you're theoretically out of shape a bit, so it's helping ease your way into practices. Then you start going towards the middle of the season, in which case the practices get harder and harder and harder, and then at the very end, the practices usually dip a little bit in difficulty, which is called tapering. Now, the younger age groups don't actually taper almost at all, and that is because at their age, A, they recover a lot quicker, and B, it's more emphasis are being drawn towards them learning the technique rather than being 100% prepared to go their absolute hardest. And that's just kind of an age thing, an age and a skill level thing. And so for the younger age groups, the whole season's a little bit more that technique based with brief intervals of increasing difficulty to add on to it. Now, the last topic I have down here is volunteering. I know y'all probably heard about that a ton. And I just wanted to make sure I gave a more formal definition because I know some of my parents have asked and I just feel like it's necessary. Now, the meets, they're hosted by teams. Y'all have probably figured that out with us hosting meets at Grapevine. We hosted tags. It's because there's a ton of teams in the state and nobody wants to full-time just run swim meets. So teams, they basically take turns offering to host the meets. The volunteering is so that way we can help run everything the smoothest possible. And there's only so many coaches that we have. For example, if y'all saw the Louisville Natatorium when we were hosting tags, we didn't have enough coaches to run everything, which is why we heavily relied on volunteering. So I would like to thank you guys all for that. Everyone who volunteered for tags, anyone who volunteers for Grapevine, that is very much appreciated. And just making sure, kind of clarifying why it's necessary. It's because the same team's not going to host every meet, and help's kind of needed. And I'm glad that we have such great parents that are willing to volunteer. Thank you, and be prepared for my updated video, in which case I'll be posting information about butterfly and breaking down stroke mechanics.